Hello students! Right now we will be working on global citizenship. So please help me going to page 126 and 177 from your book. Okay? This time we're talking about Galileo Galilei. Do you know who he was? Well, we'll read about him and the importance of his life and his discoveries. Okay? Before, I'll play a short video with some images to think about. Ready?
Uncle.
Okay, now we'll start reading, and I'm pretty sure you will be able to relate some of these images with the text. Okay, but first, think about the following. You have two objects. One is very heavy, like a brick, and one is much lighter, like a pencil. If you were to drop them at the same time, which would fall to the ground faster? Think about that and think about your answer. Why? If it's possible, write your answer over here. Over here, okay? We'll read the following text and then if you want to change your answer, it's perfect. Okay? Ready? Follow me at home. Do you know that there is a well-known story about one of the greatest scientists who ever lived? Galileo Galilei had a strong interest in learning about the science of matter, energy, and motion. He questioned everything. The story began when Galileo was a professor in 1589. He wanted to test falling objects and see what happened. He trekked up to the top of the Leaning Tower of Pisa. At the top of the tower, he dropped two cannonballs. One cannonball was much heavier than the other. What happened? They hit the ground at the same time. This means they fell at the same speed. This shocked everyone. This was not the first time Galileo questioned the idea of motion. In 1582, while Galileo was sitting in church, he watched the wind sway a chandelier back and forth. He observed that some swings of the light fixture were wider than others. However, each swing took exactly the same amount of time. This is how he came up with the idea to use a swinging pendulum to regulate the motion of a new type of clock. In 1609, Galileo heard about a spyglass. When you look through a spyglass, faraway objects look closer. Galileo worked on building his own spyglass. Eventually, he built a telescope where he could see faraway objects look 30 times bigger. With his telescope, he made many discoveries about astronomy. For many years, people believed that the Earth was the center of our universe. People thought the sun and planets revolved around Earth. Through his telescope, Galileo noticed that Venus had many different shapes. He concluded the theory of the Earth being the center of the universe was wrong. Galileo said the planets were actually revolving around the sun and not the opposite. The Catholic Church did not like this theory. The church put Galileo on trial and found him guilty. They sentenced him to stay in his house for the rest of his life. He continued to write down his thoughts and eventually died of poor health in 1642. So, if you notice, I also underlined some ideas with blue. I invite you to do the same because these are main ideas and these will help you to answer the questions from the next page, page 127. So I'll read them for you. they will be really easy to answer. Number 1. What was Galileo interested in learning about? Was he interested in learning about gastronomy? Was he interested in learning about biology? I don't think so, right? So go back on the previous page and find what were his interests. Number 2. What did he discover when he dropped two cannonballs of different weight? Did they fail at the same time or a different time? Number 3. How does his creation, the telescope, impact our world today? Number 4. What happened to Galileo when he said that the earth was not the center of the universe? Was it fair? Remember that times were really different and the church had a lot of power back then. So, it's time for you to work on your answers.